It's so Joe Biden. Oh, gosh. Hey, man. Hey, man, over there. Hey, man, producer.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. It makes no sense at all. This is why I love Joe Biden.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Weekday mornings at 6, right before Mike Gallagher at 9 on AM 1250. The Answer.
Is it hot enough for you? Maybe I should ask, was it hot enough for you over the weekend? How about that heat wave, huh? Did it make a man-made climate change convert out of you? Maybe you should calm down a little bit. Chris Marks of Weather Facts says that there are fewer heat waves, and they don't last as long now as they did in the 1930s. And he has graphs to prove it. He says the average heat wave now is 41% shorter than heat waves back in the 30s. And I don't know if they had any air conditioning back then. I know they didn't have much. I mean, I didn't have any air conditioning growing up in the 50s and 60s, so it had to be hot back there in the 30s. And this guy says that the average temperature is 2 degrees higher during their heat waves back then. And that came from a story, by the way, on the Daily Wire today. And right now it's 69 degrees, and the temperature won't get out of the 70s for the next 3 days. So no need to panic. Not that anything is going to keep the climate change hysterics from panicking. Meanwhile, it's time to clean up some business from last week, if you don't mind.
And now, it's time for The Jerk of the Week, starring John Steigerwald.
Well, we actually have 2 jerks of the week this week because we forgot to do one last week. And because of that, I've had multiple people fired here at the station. I just want to let you know that. Erin, our producer, was on vacation and we forgot, so she's been told she's never taking another vacation. So I guess that could make me the jerk of the week, but I'm not going to be because we have someone else. This guy, we could have had a multiple jerks of the week because it's the San Francisco Board of Education that voted unanimously to paint over a George Washington mural on a school wall. The mural depicted a series of scenes from Washington's life and was written by or painted by a liberal who wanted to show what kind of a life Washington had, which included owning slaves and having to kill Native Americans, but everybody's offended, so because the truth was shown there. So, but our jerk of the week is not the entire board because we only have room for one jerk, but we're going to give it to Mark Sanchez. He's the education commissioner out there in San Francisco, and he said that the $600,000 cost to have this mural painted over is reparations. And so, Mark Sanchez, education commissioner, San Francisco, a long way away, but he didn't escape us. He is the jerk of the week.
The Jerk of the Week is brought to you by Windows R Us, Pittsburgh's premier exterior replacement company. Expert repair and replacement for windows, roofs, siding, doors, gutters, and downspouts. Why pay double? Visit WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com.
And when we come back, the author of a book called 50 Things They Don't Want You to Know. Stick around. Recent storms have done a number on Pittsburgh homes and businesses. This is John Steigerwald. If you've had damage to your roof, windows, siding, or gutters and downspouts, you may be eligible to get them replaced or repaired free of charge. All you have to do is visit WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com for a free inspection from one of their highly trained appraisers. With over 50 years in home remodeling, Windows R Us is the area's premier exterior replacement company for roofs, siding, gutters and downspouts, doors, and of course windows. If damage isn't your issue and you just want something new, you'll love their no-pressure approach, no hidden fees, and one of the fastest turnaround times in the industry. Why pay twice as much with other companies? Visit the area's premier exterior replacement company at WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. Mention STAG for an additional 10% off at WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. That's WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. Windows R Us, proud sponsor of the Jerk of the Week, heard every Friday right here on the John Steigerwald Show. WindowsAreUsPittsburgh.com. We're talking to Rocky Blyer. He's involved with the Miracle League of Moon Township and the construction of a Miracle League athletic field. The fields are designed to make it possible for kids with special needs to play sports.
Every child, no matter what the situation, deserves a chance to be able to play, to compete, and have a place that's safe, takes care of needs, that's organized. This will be the fourth Miracle League field that will be built. Now we got 4 places to be able to travel, so it broadens the whole interest of sports. It's just terrific for a community to do that.
There's a buddy system I thought was pretty impressive. What's that all about?
Kids with special needs have a buddy, a child who's in school. It's like having an older brother or sister involved with you. So it's really good, and that everybody has human dignity of being able to participate.
The website is miraclesinmoon.org. Check it out, and let's help make this dream a reality. Hey, Rocky, thanks, and we'll be talking to you again about this project. Appreciate you coming on to talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, man.
I appreciate
Take it easy.
Thanks.
Rocky Blyer, and we'll be right back.
The following is a true story.
My name is David Bryant. When I was 37, my wife and I decided to get term life insurance through SelectQuote. Just 3 years later, I was diagnosed with ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Because of life insurance, the people I love most in this world will be protected no matter what happens to me. I know that the dreams I have for my family can still come true. Financial security, to stay in the home we became a family in, and for our children to be able to go to college. I reached out to SelectQuote because I wanted to share my story. If just one person purchases life insurance, I know I will have made a difference.
SelectQuote can find a 37-year-old male a $500,000 policy for under $1 a day.
If there are people you care about, you need life insurance. It may be the single most important financial decision of your life.
Don't put off protecting your family. Get your free quote now. Call 800-671-7070. That's 800-671-7070. 800-671-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com. This is a paid endorsement. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Not available in all states.
Warning. Property protected by electric fence. Sharks sighted in water.
Warnings are truly handy.
Bridge out.
But you may not always get a warning when it comes to threats to your identity or the personal information on your devices. That's why LifeLock Identity Theft Protection includes Norton Security for even more protection. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to help detect identity threats, like your personal info for sale on the dark web. And Norton Security protects up to 5 devices from ransomware and other online threats. Plus, if you have a problem, our agents will work to fix it. Of course, no one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but having someone looking out for you
Warning. Minefield ahead.
will help keep you out of danger. Join now and get 10% off your first year. Go to lifelock.com and enter promo code TITTLE. That's promo code TITTLE for 10% off. LifeLock with Norton. More detection, more protection.
The John Steigerwald Show, AM 1250, The Answer.
Well, the title of the book is 50 Things They Don't Want You to Know, and it's coming out soon. The author is Jerome Hudson. He's the entertainment editor at Breitbart News, also writes for many other publications. You've seen him on Fox News. He joins us now, and Jerome, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, John.
So I guess the first question is, the title of the book is 50 Things They Don't Want You to Know. Who is they?
That was a good question. I can't say I didn't see it coming. Yeah. No, I
think I know who it is, but I want you to talk about it.
Sure. No, it's politicians who oftentimes lecture and lie. It is the mainstream media who basically do the same. It's professors. It's basically anyone who proclaims to be in a position of authority. I'm black, for your listeners who didn't know. And for a long time, people, so-called civil rights leaders, have taken upon themselves to speak generally for all black people. Now, while I disagree with many of the things that they say, these people do not tell the truth. And that is what I endeavored to do in writing this book.
It's interesting you bring that up because there's a Congresswoman, Presley, who there's a quote out there the last few days from her talking about I don't have it right in front of me here, but since you brought it up, I thought of it. It goes something like, we don't want blacks who don't have a black voice, or brown people who don't have a brown voice. And you kind of mentioned it there, that there are people out there who think, sometimes if I'm a white guy, in case you didn't know, you get the
with that name? No.
you get the impression that so if you're having a discussion, and I've had debates and discussions with black guys who they don't like black conservatives, of which you are. We'll talk about that in a minute. And she meant that's basically what she was saying in her statement, the Congresswoman, that it's racist to generalize and say that black people think this or think that, but then when there's a black person who doesn't think the way they think you're supposed to think, then you get called out for it. How do you deal with that?
Well, the book comes out September 17th, and anybody under the sound of my voice can pre-order it now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So listening to you talk about this, the quote is, no more black faces that don't want to be a black voice.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah.
You're absolutely right. It stuns me how uncanny the timing of this book coming out is. I mean, I don't know this woman's politics, but I would assume that she's pro-abortion or so-called pro-choice.
Mm-hmm.
The first chapter in my book, I basically highlight how in New York City for several years, I'm talking about 5 years in a row, John, more black pregnancies ended in abortion than those children being born alive. I venture to guess that Congresswoman Presley has never actually given a voice to all of those black lives that should matter, but that will never breathe air and live because of the callous policies of abortion that her party, the Democratic Party, have pushed for decades. You're right. It's extremely racist statement to make. It should be insulting to anyone, but particularly to black people. Oftentimes, you do get the assumption, and her words actually illustrate that politicians, and specifically Democrats, just see black people as a monolithic voting bloc. And they take their vote for granted because they know, Democrat politicians know that black people will show up and vote for their party no matter who it is, no matter what the policies they espouse. And, I mean, that's basically what she's saying here.
Yeah, and you hear, like, if as a white guy, and I say, well, I kind of like Clarence Thomas, or I really enjoy, my two of my favorite columnists are Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams, and I kind of like Ben Carson, and they list, and though they don't count, they're not black,
right.
Because they're house Negroes.
These are all highly accomplished people who just happen to be black, right?
Right.
Justice Clarence Thomas, and who I haven't had a chance to talk to, but I was born and raised in Savannah. Mm-hmm. But I have spent hours talking to Dr. Ben Carson. Both of those men, respectively, came from horrible situations growing up, poor, but they overcame those situations. What's frightening about what people like Congresswoman Presley is saying is that she's sending a message, and she's basically shutting down debate. That's why I wrote the book, John, because I give people 50 primers on very serious issues facing the country. But Congresswoman Presley would have you not actually have a debate on these issues. In fact, she's saying, shut up, black person, black conservative. If you don't agree, if you don't see the world through the prism that we, the correct thinking black Democrats, see the world, then there should be no debate. And you actually have no place in this battle of ideas that we're supposed to be having. I mean, it's actually the most anti-American thing I've seen a Democrat say in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was a stunner, and what's just as stunning is that so few people recognize it for what it is, and for how stupid it is, and how counterproductive it is.
Well, I mean, look, she's, in Massachusetts is generally a state that by and large, is represented by Democrats, and so she can get away with it. Mm-hmm. But what I do know is, and I live in Jacksonville. It's a really large city, and I travel the country. I talk to people all the time, and the world that Congresswoman Presley and Democrats in the squad, and all of them in Washington D.C., they see the world, and the reality is that really racism is nearly non-existent in America. The leaps and bounds that we've made since the civil rights movement, they go unrecognized by these people, John, because unfortunately they have to divide us and they have to break us into every splintered group, whether it be gender or sexual orientation or a race.
Yep.
And that is how they remain in power. But I think what the 2016 election told us is that people are tired of this stuff, and they're really not taking it anymore.
Now, we're talking to Jerome Hudson, the author of a book soon to come out. It's called 50 Things They Don't Want You to Know. So I obviously haven't read the book, Jerome. I've read some of the stuff about the book. So maybe it'd be just easier for me to just let you list a few of your favorite things from the list of 50. So what do you want to start with?
No, and I mean, some of these are the most actual issues that have faced our nation, some of them for decades. And so, 40 years ago, we started to include race as sort of just one of the many elements for in admissions on our college campuses. And then since that time of affirmative action, racial minorities have the number of racial minorities on America's top colleges and universities has actually declined. We hear politicians, we assume that these people are supposed to be smart and care and take care of the issues that we elect them to do. Compare the situation, the crisis, the immigration crisis at the border to the Holocaust, John. And in fact, anytime a politician or a left-wing Hollywood radical or some TV talking head actually makes that comparison, they're not only doing a disservice to the memory of anyone who died or lost a loved one, or anyone who fought in World War II to free people who were being brutalized by Nazi Germany. They're actually attacking Latinos, because I described in great detail, and this is all public information. I just codified it and put it beautifully so that people don't fall asleep reading it. Over 50% of the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents are Latino. Now, obviously, I mean, it gives you a great advantage if you actually speak Spanish, but that's the good people that these craven politicians are attacking. We can't be a racist country if we've led the entire world year after year and for decades in actually accepting refugees, but that doesn't stop leftists from attacking their own country as xenophobic and bigoted.
So the U.S., I see here you have that's one of your 50 things. The U.S. settled more refugees in 2018 than any other country.
It's basically 50. They feel counterintuitive, John. Like you and I know this. We live this. We breathe this stuff. But I wrote this book really for that 20-year-old me that was a college student. Mm-hmm. And when I actually started to get my hands on books about economics and books about history and philosophy and the great triumphs that this country achieved, I felt bamboozled. It broke my heart. And so in many ways, I wrote this book, obviously for all audiences, but particularly for young people who are being inundated every day with horrible lies about the history of this country. And they're being graduated and sent out into the world hating the greatest country that God ever put on this planet. And so, it's 50 trips to the bathroom. And look, I didn't write the book because I thought that I could change someone's voter registration. But on these 50 issues, I mean, you may still be a liberal when you finish the book, but you'll never look at these issues the same way.
Yeah, I see here also another good one, $2.6 billion in food stamps to dead people in less than 2 years.
So I don't know if your audience is familiar with Peter Schweitzer. He is the Democrat slayer in many ways. I worked alongside him at Government Accountability Institute, we did research on Clinton cash, which the New York Times, basically said was part of the reason why Hillary Clinton didn't win the White House. And while I was at Government Accountability Institute, I led a team of researchers, and I helped lead the team, and we were researching food stamps, the program, John, and what we realized was that a handful of companies actually administer food stamp programs throughout each state. We actually had an executive of a large financial firm basically saying, John, that poverty was good for our business because the more people who were in dire economic straits, the more people needed food stamps. And that is people's taxpayer dollars to the tune of billions of dollars going to underwrite this program. But just like most government programs, John, it is full of fraud and waste. And basically what I did was just look through the actuarial numbers. And yeah, I mean, within a very short amount of time, about 18 months, we basically spent almost $3 billion giving food stamps to people who weren't alive. I mean, it's quite fascinating. But again, the point is to actually shake people out of the sort of apathy that they might have. I mean, people can easily pay attention to this stuff, and it doesn't have to happen around election time.
I saw on the website, too, it's, your boss, the CEO at Breitbart, Larry Solov. He says you're a nightmare for Hollywood elites. I'm guessing you take that as a compliment.
I do, very, very much so. And look, it's not me saying it. The New York Times has published the work that we do at Breitbart News, particularly me being the entertainment editor. I mean, I wake up every day at ungodly hours, and all I do, John, basically is report what these people say about the very same Americans that they ask to buy their movie tickets or their albums or come see them sing on a stage at a concert.
Right.
I mean, it does make my job very easy. But for the longest time, I don't think, the average upstanding, law-abiding American citizen actually realized just how much some of the biggest celebrities and stars in Hollywood hate them. I mean, these people have real disdain for them. I think the American voter can kind of see that disdain in the media, particularly in the last decade, and they can certainly see that correlation with elected officials in Washington, D.C., and maybe in their local government. But we look up to a lot of these Hollywood stars. We idolize them. We love the movies and the shows and the work that they do, and not all of them are left-wing radicals, and certainly there are a lot of blue-collar jobs, and good people that work on these television shows and movies. But there is a large contingent of these very affluent and very influential people who campaign for policies, quite frankly, John, that don't really affect their lives in the same way that they affect the average everyday American. And so what I do is just hold up a big mirror and I just let the reflection show. And millions of people come to Breitbart.com to be educated on it. It does take a constant campaign of reminding people. And some of them, these celebrities, have humbled over the years, but most of them are hard-headed. And we'll never stop reporting again the hateful things that they say.
Hey, I'm out of time, Jerome. I'm up against a hard break. You understand that? You're a veteran of television, radio. I got to go. I want to have you on again for sure when the book comes out. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you. God bless.
Okay, that's Jerome Hudson, and it's 50 things they don't want you to know. You know some of them right now.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump is denying Iran's claim that it has arrested 17 CIA recruits.
An Iranian intelligence official says the recruits were all Iranian nationals arrested over the past month for spying on the Islamic Republic. Republic's nuclear and military sites.
That's totally a false story. That's another lie.
The report comes amid rising tensions between the nations over the president pulling the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal. Asked if Washington's closer to a deal or armed conflict, he says Iran doesn't know which way it's going and continues disrespecting the U.S.
Frankly, it's getting harder for me to want to make a deal with Iran.
And says it could easily go either way. Sagar Magani, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow up by 18 points to 27,171. The Nasdaq rose 58. The S&P advanced 8. Oil up 46 cents to 56.09 a barrel. This is SRN News.
Hi, I'm Adam Barada, author of the book Gold is a Better Way. It became a national bestseller. It's now become a movement. My member site went live 1 year ago, and since that time, gold is up $250. It's outperforming the highest flying stock market in history by 15%. And for the first time, I'm opening up my live gold summit to non-members. This is a $1,500 ticket for free. Join me and my over 5,000 members via live stream on August 14th and learn the secrets to the next gold boom. The event is for investors with over $100,000. If that's you, text the words Gold Summit to 49776. That's the words Gold Summit to 49776. Get your $1,500 ticket for free for our August 14th live event now. Text Gold Summit to 49776 and join the movement. Text the words Gold Summit to 49776. That's the words Gold Summit to 49776.
Jay Sekulow is seeing smoke.
Horowitz's Inspector General report was due to be released literally anytime this month, the FISA abuses. What's very important right now is to understand that all of a sudden, in the last hours before this report is about to go public, we now have this release of a statement saying it's going to be delayed some. Why? Witnesses are coming forward.
Jay Sekulow live, weeknights at 6, right before Larry Elder at 7, on AM 1250. The Answer.
Do you or your business have financial problems? Are you overwhelmed with debt? Then call me, attorney Dennis Spire, at 412-471-7675. My legal practice concentrates on bankruptcy law, debtor rights, and tax matters. I have over 30 years' experience as a former United States Department of Justice bankruptcy attorney and lawyer in private practice. I have represented thousands of cases faced with financial problems and lawsuits. Reorganize and get a fresh start. Call 412-471-7675 or visit my website at DennisSpira.com.
Community Bank, City Mission, #1 Cochrane, Highmark Stadium, Peters Township Community Center, Angelo's Restaurant. What do all these businesses have in common? Nello Construction. Design and build with one company. Nello Construction. Full service construction from the ground up. Renovation. Expansion. Nello Construction. The choice for business. See the projects. Begin the journey at NelloConstruction.com.
Here is your new Pella Lifestyle window when open. Here it is, closed. The new Pella Lifestyle series is the #1 performing wood window and patio door for sound control, energy efficiency, and value. Keep the outside noise outside. More peace and better rest for your family. Exceptional noise control for a quieter home. For a limited time, get $150 off windows and $500 off doors, or 48 months no interest. Call 888-77-PELLA, PellaPittsburgh.com.
This is Jay Hagerman of Abernathy & Hagerman. Upon your passing, you wouldn't want a judge to decide who raises your children or how your estate gets divided. It is important to review your estate planning documents to ensure they protect what matters most. At Abernathy & Hagerman, we will work with you to establish an estate plan that nominates a guardian for your minor children and that your assets are used for your family's benefit. Judge for yourself. For legal help that lasts a lifetime, visit a-h.law.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
Plenty of flooding closures remaining, especially in Plum, Penn Hills, Wilkins, Monroeville. The closures include Old William Penn Highway between Thompson Run Road and Jefferson Road. Also Lower Rodi Road between Thompson Run Road and 22. In Plum, New Texas Road, that's shut down with storm debris between Golden Mile Highway and Keene Road. Got an accident 837 at Library Place to watch out for. Pretty typical volume on the Parkway East and West. That's a look at traffic. I'm Jenny Robinson.
AM 1250, The Answer. Weather.
We'll have a shower in spots early. Otherwise, clouds linger tonight with a low near 60. Then tomorrow, you'll see clouds give way to some sunshine. Looks to be a really nice day as humidity drops and the high will only be 75. Partly cloudy with a low, a comfortable 55 tomorrow night. A gorgeous day's coming up Wednesday. We'll have bright sunshine, low humidity, and the high will again be 75. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Frank Strait.
This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
Well, Dan Le Batard was back at work today on ESPN, even though he went against company policy and talked politics on his show last week. Of course, he ripped Donald Trump because of the chants at his rally last Thursday. Well, Ben Strauss is a sports and media reporter at the Washington Post, and he joins us now. Ben, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm just wondering if you think, or I don't know if it's whether it's up to you to think this, but or maybe I should say, are you surprised that Dan Le Batard wasn't suspended for blatantly violating the policy of ESPN's new policy?
Yeah, I think the question hits it on the head. Sort of this spot that he put ESPN in, sort of for 18 months with their new president. They said over and over again, we don't do pure politics. We are not a political network. And last week, all of a sudden, Dan Le Batard rebukes Trump, and the folks at his rally who were chanting send her back to Rep. Ilhan Omar. And all of a sudden now ESPN is in the place it was 18 months ago before the president took over and said, we are not going to do this. We are not political. And so I don't know if it's for me to say whether I'm surprised or not. I think it's the exact spot that the network doesn't want to be in. And, you don't suspend him, then, you basically have this policy, what is it for? What does it mean? And if you do suspend him, then, you sort of risk, pissing off all the people that this resonated with, all the people, all the president's critics who this resonated with. So, I mean, you're sort of over the barrel. I don't know if you can win.
Yeah, and it'd be kind of hard to have any sympathy for Dan Le Batard, though, no matter what your stance is on what the president said. If the boss says you don't do that and you do it, I guess you should expect the consequences. Accept the consequences,
maybe.
maybe.
I think that is absolutely one way to look at it. This was a policy. If you want to talk sports on our network, you have to, put it through a sports lens.
Mm-hmm. Had the policy...
Dan sort of couched it, right? Dan is a Cuban immigrant, and sort of the message at that rally, struck him, very deeply. Mm-hmm. And sort of he felt compelled to talk about this. So, I mean, it's tricky. I mean, I think you can sort of see the arguments on both sides, and it's sort of left both of them in a tricky spot. If Dan Le Batard feels this strongly about Trump, about politics, then is ESPN the right place for him? If ESPN is going to tell him you can't say this, and so they both have to make a decision. Is this the right fit?
Right. And had the new policy been followed until this? Were there any other examples of?
So I don't know how new the policy. For years and years, ESPN has sort of tried to figure out when its personalities, its TV hosts, its writers want to address political issues. And so for years, Bill Simmons at one point wanted to have Barack Obama on his podcast, and the network said no years and years ago. And obviously, in this moment in 2019, everything is just much more political, and so it's much harder for the network to separate sports and what it covers from the larger political conversation and the news cycle, frankly. So for a while now, the new president, Jim Batard, took over last March, I want to say. So for 18 months, as he said over and over, we're not political, we're not going to cover this stuff. There has not been any controversy, any drama. A couple of years ago, your listeners might remember Jamel Hill, who called Trump a white supremacist, and ESPN was sort of at the white hot center of this political conversation and news cycle. And so, yeah, for 18 months, they've avoided a lot of that drama. This last week, they're right back in the middle of it.
You mentioned in your piece that you talked to some people, or at least a person at ESPN about this who wasn't able to identify him or herself. I'm just wondering, he also attacked the network for not having the guts to talk about politics, said they were cowards. How do you think that played among his coworkers? You think they were cheering him on?
I think what makes this even it's a fair point, a good point to make, is that not only did he violate the policy by talking about Trump, but he trashed the policy itself, right? Which is attacking the network whose airwaves he's on, and so that makes it even trickier. And I think that there are some folks. I can tell you there are some folks at ESPN who are less concerned about what he said politically, but the fact that he, attacked the network that whose airwaves he's on. So that's a totally fair point.
Yeah, there aren't. I worked as a sportscaster, full-time sportscaster for 30 years, and there were certain things that I knew there were things that I didn't like about the companies that I worked for, but I was pretty well aware that I shouldn't say that on the air, and expect to keep my job. I mean, I don't know how many people who would expect to rip the company you work for on the air and then show up at work the next morning without any consequences.
Yeah, and so far there haven't been any consequences. So people inside that building and people, I'm sure country, who have been following the story are curious to see what, if anything, ESPN does. And I think it's not really a unique situation to ESPN, sort of what your corporate response is to President Trump. I mean, we've seen, companies from Nike to plenty of others, face this question of how do we respond to this political moment. And, a lot of times there's not a great answer.
How damaging did ESPN find the drift into politics that they put a stop to? Did they have research that showed that it was hurting their ratings and causing them to lose subscriptions? There are two separate things going on at ESPN when they responded to the politics thing. But the politics thing, a lot of it is branding, right? There were conservatives who thought that, ESPN had drifted too far into politics, from a liberal angle. So that's a branding issue, right? If you're a sports network, you don't want, half the country thinking that you are a political network. Right. That is a totally separate issue from cord cutting and the business climate that ESPN and any cable company faces itself. I absolutely don't think that, somebody said ESPN is too political, so I'm going to, cut them from my cable subscription, right? Yeah. The people who are watching ESPN are going to watch college football no matter what. Right. A talking head says, and it's not, ESPN wasn't losing subscribers at a higher rate than Fox News, for example. So they're two totally separate issues. ESPN wanted to protect their brand, and so they've come out and said, politics is something that we don't want to do. And the other thing is, right, I think they've said, politics isn't something we want to do. They've said that over and over again. I don't think they've lobotomized their coverage, and it's that different. I think a lot of it is sort of this marketing campaign to tell people and remind people that they are part, separate from the news cycle and separate from, the politics of the moment. But, I don't think that was totally separate issue from the business climate and how you address, people who don't want cable anymore. We're talking to Ben Strauss. He's a sports and media reporter at the Washington Post. The Colin Kaepernick story popped up again a couple of weeks ago with the issue with the Nike shoes. I have to admit to you, I don't watch ESPN much. I don't find their panel shows all that necessary to watch. I believe me, I watch games.
But you watch the game.
Yeah, that's
right?
all. I watch the games.
That's when most people watch ESPN, right? Like the sort of like the thing that gets lost in all of this. We talk about ESPN and politics. It's the politics stuff really is a branding thing, right? What makes ESPN work as a network is how much money they're spending on the NFL, the NBA, and how much money is coming in from cable subscribers and, their new, direct-to-consumer offering, which is called ESPN Plus. So the politics is not going to make or break ESPN as a network. It's obviously a talking point, and it's important sort of in the political discourse to think about how we, address sports and the issues of race and, socioeconomics and things in sports. But it's not making or breaking ESPN as a network.
Now, outside, Bob Lee retired, and I when I knew I was going to be talking to you, I couldn't. I don't have an answer because I don't know if it's still on the air. What happened to Outside the Lines, which is a show that lent itself to talking about politics and culture once in a while, because that was the name of the show.
Yeah, it's still on the air. It didn't go anywhere. It's on either 4 or 5 days a week. I can't remember which. They've still got people writing about the intersection of race and sports on a website called The Undefeated.
Yeah.
They've got, on First Take, which is, probably their most well-known morning show.
Yeah.
They'll debate issues of who's going to the White House, who isn't.
Mm-hmm.
A couple months ago, they examined Kate Smith and white privilege around
I forgot about that
God
one, yeah.
Bless America. So, this idea that, ESPN, like I said, has sort of neutered itself, isn't true. A lot of the conversation around politics is branding and making sure that people don't think of them as a political network. And that's why, the Batard stuff is tricky for them, because they really don't want people to think of them as a political network. And when you address Trump in the way Batard did, that's what people think.
Well, so Ben, we're talking to Ben Strauss, sports and media reporter for the Washington Post. As I said, I was a full-time sportscaster, and I'm doing this show now. And part of I really appreciate what they're allowing me to do here, because they allow me to do basically whatever I want. And I will do a story on something related totally to sports in one segment and come back and talk about abortion in the next one. And I'm kind of trying to prove a point here. I don't know if I'm going to end up ultimately getting away with it, but I'm trying to prove a point that a sports fan can walk and chew gum at the same time, can tune into a show knowing that he or she is going to get maybe politics, maybe sports. And if you know that you're tuning in to get that, then you're not going to be offended when somebody brings up a political subject. And that's why I guess it's a long way of getting around to asking you, why doesn't ESPN just have a show that's dedicated to politics and sports, or culture and sports, or the intersection of politics?
Right. I think that part of what they've done over the last year is condense a little bit of the opinion shows and focus a little more on highlights.
Yeah.
Which means you get less discussion about that intersection of politics and sports, whatever the news of the day might be.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, right Outside the Lines is on. They've got an E60 show that airs on the weekend, that delves into, magazine style, TV journalism, looking at, deeper issues.
They do great stuff on that show.
They have these outlets. So I think, sometimes it's a matter of, semantics.
How about how about this for a show? Dan Le Batard and Kurt Schilling on the same show together, debating these issues. I'm serious. To me, that might be an interesting show. And you could talk about sports a lot, but just don't hide the fact that these are two politically savvy guys who have differing opinions, and they're going to go at it with a sports kind of motif.
Yeah,
I'd watch that. Would you?
ESPN had Kurt Schilling, and they had to let him go because
he's a conservative
of a series of pretty. I think they were homophobic and racist comments on the internet. But they have. I guess your question brings up the idea of how I think especially right now. How political everything is.
Yeah.
And so the question is, how do you separate, when you do have a rally like that, which, speaks to so many people on a really, really elemental level, fundamentally offending them and sort of really, especially if you're an immigrant, questioning what those people are chanting about and what it means. And if you've got a platform like Dan Levitard's, you weigh what your network is telling you, and then you weigh these personal feelings you have, where you hear people at a rally chanting "Send her back,"
right?
And what that means to you and what that stirs in you. And I don't think there's any easy answers to any of those questions.
Hey, Ben, I'm out of time. I appreciate you being on. I liked your piece today at the Washington Post on this issue, and I don't think it's the last we're going to hear of it. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Always good to be with you.
All right, thank you. That's Ben Strauss, and we'll be right back. A couple of weeks ago, we had Rocky Blyer here to talk about his work with Miracle League in Moon Township, Fields for Athletes with Special Needs. Jim Leland, the Pirates' former manager, is also involved in that project. Jim, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, John. Great to talk to you.
Tell me about the Miracle League of Moon Township.
It's just a great thing for these kids, and it's a wonderful opportunity to people to participate. Some people are a little less fortunate than others, and I think it's just a great opportunity for people to volunteer and to help out and put a smile on somebody's face.
I've seen the field that they put out in Upper St. Clair. It's amazing.
Oh, it's unbelievable. The way they construct these things, they have the ramps and everything for the kids. It takes a little stress off the parents. I think it's what Pittsburgh's all about. It's just a great thing.
It'll serve Montour, West Allegheny, Moon, Sewickley, Weirton, Steubenville, Beaver County, and surrounding communities. Approximately 100 to 200 children will be eligible to participate, and it'll also serve adults with special needs. So it's a great cause. And if you'd like to see how you can help, maybe donate some money, check it out at miraclesinmoon.org. Miraclesinmoon.org. We'll be right back.
We're surrounded by noise.
Order today.
Bombarded by information. Messages struggling to get attention. So many choices and ways to reach customers. Your message needs to cut through and stand out. Today's technology can do that, but you need the resources and know-how to make it all work. You need Salem Surround. With all the digital marketing tools available and necessary to compete in today's business world, you need to know how to use all the options efficiently. Our team at Salem Surround has the expertise to manage all your digital marketing under one roof. We know digital marketing and how to deliver customers so you can run your business. Get started with a free evaluation of your digital presence and some great ideas to increase your online visibility and revenue. For no limitations on how and where you can reach customers, there's Salem Surround, total market penetration for increased ROI. Learn more at surroundpittsburgh.com. Surroundpittsburgh.com. Connecting you with new customers.
Hey, it's John Steigerwald. So the people at MyPillow said, hey, John, can you try out a MyPillow and let us know what you think? I was skeptical. I mean, it's a pillow. But what did I have to lose, right? I'll tell you what I lost. Interrupted sleep. No more folding the pillow in half. No more flat, lifeless pillows. So I'm letting you know you need MyPillow. Well, not my actual pillow, but you know what I mean. Your own MyPillow. It stays cool all night long. No more waking up at 3 a.m. to flip to the cool side of the pillow. It keeps its shape. No more reshaping your pillow in the middle of the night. It comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it. Don't like it? Return it. MyPillow comes with a 10-year warranty. Do you have a pillow that comes with a 10-year warranty? You can toss a MyPillow pillow in your washer and dryer and it's like new again. Try doing that with your pillow and see what happens. Get a 2-pack of MyPillow's premiums for $69.98. That's only $34.99 per pillow, which is the lowest price ever offered on radio or TV. This offer is only available at MyPillow.com or call 800-716-8087. Use promo code STAG.
Are you overwhelmed, unable to think clearly or sleep well at night? Or just trudging through each day, but not really enjoying your life? I'm a counselor with Faithful Counseling, and that feeling of distress can sometimes be because you're wrestling with a problem that seems too big or too impossible to overcome. Other times, people are consumed by a past hurt. I'm part of a network of Christian counselors, fellow believers, trusted therapists who share your faith. We want to give you a free week so you can try us out. You can begin a conversation with one of us by text or phone, even video conferencing today. Are you ready to shake this off and begin enjoying your life? If it's not for you, cancel during your first week and you'll not pay a dime. Go to tryfaithfulcounseling.com. It's time to talk to someone who can help. Go now to tryfaithfulcounseling.com. It's so easy to get started, and your first week is free. Go now to tryfaithfulcounseling.com.
You're listening to The John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
Well, it's craziness from Canada again. Sorry. Jessica Yaniv, Y-A-N-I-V. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation. Used to be Jonathan, he changed his name because he's now a woman, even though he's, still a man. He says he's a woman, but nothing's changed. Let's just put it that way. And Jessica, also, we'll call him Jessica. He wanted to get a waxing, if you know what I mean. And so he up in Canada. He's out now. I don't know if the word is suing, but he's going after 16 people who are in the business of doing waxings, mostly, obviously, for women. And he's upset because they refuse to wax her, even though it's a him. You know what I'm saying? I'm supposed to refer to him as her, because I think up in Canada they can throw you in prison for not if I refer to him as him. But he still looks like a him when he's naked. Let's put it that way. And these women are not real crazy about with the idea of actually doing their job with him. So they were a little bit reluctant. You know what I mean? The guy looks like John Candy, okay, in drag. And so, remember John Candy? So he wants a waxing, and 16 women, most of them immigrants, by the way, one of them disabled, one has already been put out of business. He's suing them for, I think it's like $8,000 each. But the sick thing about it is that there's something called the BC, British Columbia Human Rights Tribunal. They're having a hearing about it. So they're actually taking up taxpayer dollars to, these people are government officials, judges, whoever is on this tribunal, and they're doing it with a straight face. This guy has male equipment, and there's actually a discussion about whether these women should be forced to deal with it. We're going to try to get more on this tomorrow. It's all over Canada, and it's unbelievably stupid. But unfortunately, as stupid as it is, it's not the least bit surprising. And it's headed to America if the Democrats ever take control. We may be doomed. Talk to you tomorrow.
The John Steigerwald Show is a production of AM 1250 The Answer and Salem Media Group.
Right now, save $500 off a beautiful new Pella entry door.